This is my story. In this video, I want to explain exactly what I did to get out of a pretty dark place in my life and how I used those tough times to build a lifestyle that I honestly could never have imagined living at 20 years old. This summer, I decided I needed to travel to London for business last minute, and I didn't have to worry about ticket prices or anything. I literally texted my editor. I said, look, we're going, 4-star hotel booked, plane tickets covered, and 2 weeks later, we're there. Just a few weeks back, I was also able to start renting a second place over on the West Coast. So now I have kind of 2 places I can fly between. But with that being said, I want to be clear, this video isn't really about money. You'll learn how money comes into the equation at sort of the tail end of the story, but the majority of my story is actually one of personal development and self-improvement. To walk you through exactly how I did this, I'm going to be splitting this video into 4 main stages, and my goal is that regardless of what stage you're at, you can find something in this video that you relate to and that shows you how you can move forward and hopefully change your life as well. This story really starts when I was around the age of 12. I grew up as an only child, and I was raised in the city of Chicago, but until I actually got to middle school, the place where I went to school was over an hour away from home in the suburbs. So compared to most people, I had a pretty isolated childhood. Good news was, because I spent a lot of time alone, I became pretty self-sufficient. Most importantly, I got comfortable working towards my own goals. Bad news was, because I spent a lot of time alone, I became hyper fixated on my self-image and my own development really early on. You know, that whole time I was kind of working on my mental health and going through middle school? Well, one of the things that actually gave me something to focus on and get out of that sort of rut was making YouTube videos. So I had this sort of early stage skill, just making Minecraft videos when I was in like 7th and 8th grade. Snap back to the present here, and I am now a sophomore in high school when a little game called Fortnite drops. What did 16-year-old me know about video games? When there's a viral video game, there's a big content scene, specifically on YouTube. So I hit up my friend who I used to play video games with, and I was like, look, you make thumbnails, I make the videos, and we'll get views. And for whatever reason, it works. I get to the 5th, then the 10th, and then I think it was around maybe the 15th video, all the videos start to take off. This is all happening around fall of 2018, but jump to December, I think it was, and as a junior in high school, I think I am now, I do around 3K in AdSense revenue just making videos when I'm not in classes. Now, this is the point where I start to show my channel to my friends and my family, and I remember at the start, most people just brushed it off and they didn't think there was much from it, but the first time I showed my friends the estimated revenue metric that you get on YouTube Studio, all of a sudden, they took me a lot more seriously. There's probably a lesson in there, something like you have to believe in yourself before anybody else does. But point is, things are going great, and I ride this Fortnite thing for a while until I enter my senior year and college app season comes around. Because college was a very big deal for me, for my family, I basically dropped everything to prep and just write essays for months. Ultimately, I did get into Northwestern, which was one of my top choices for school. But for the purposes of this story, that's kind of where the YouTube thing had to stop until a little virus started to spread.
SARS-like virus has now reached the United States.
The urgent message to stay home.
You must stay at home.
I'm locked down at home all day with nothing to do but go to online classes and basically play video games with friends. As fun as it might sound to play video games all day, it got to a point where without anything really meaningful to do, I ultimately felt purposeless. Looked around and thought, what can I build? What can I actually do with my time that's meaningful? And so around quarantine, this is when I pick up working out at home, focusing on my fitness and that sort of thing. And while it definitely helped, I still had time left and I felt like there was more I could do. So in August of 2020, while I'm sitting at home playing a video game that I was super into at the time, Rocket League, I thought to myself, why not just make YouTube videos on this? Basically, with all my previous experience, I decided to get back into YouTube with this new game, only this time I had a lot of time on my hands and an actual fire to work. Because I channeled all my energy to this and I gave it time to grow, that coupled with my past experience, it grew a lot quicker than I thought it would. And in less than a year, when we're finally going back to in-person classes, I have almost 100,000 subscribers on this Rocket League channel. And I kept hitting numbers that previously I would have never even imagined. I talk more about the business journey in another video, and I'll have it linked on screen. But to put it in context, after I pivoted and started building this coaching program, in our first launch, March 2021, we did about 16K in sales. Before I knew it, the YouTube channel was past 100K, the business was up to 40K, almost 50K a month. Everything was growing faster than I could have imagined. Here's where the sort of slippery slope started though. As great as it was, I was basically working full-time hours on the business while still going to university full-time as well. I was basically working 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, running on coffee, tea, pre-workout, basically anything that had caffeine. And so while the material success was really driving me at the time, it wasn't sustainable. Every time the business would grow, I would just start working more and more. And while I definitely don't regret a lot of the work that I put in, what I do regret is I completely shut off almost every other aspect of my life that wasn't business or going to the gym. So don't get me wrong, the material success was great, but in a lot of ways, I feel like I cut short the experiences I could have had and the actual joy of building the business and doing a lot of things, because all I was focused on was hard work and I didn't understand how to actually prioritize any of these different things. So it wasn't until spring of this year that I started to learn the fourth and final lesson of this video. So up until this point, although everything's going well with the business and I'm making money, if I'm being honest, I actually wasn't that happy. The reason being is because I had been basically sacrificing everything to make it work. You've got to realize, like, that's not all there is to it. Yes, money is important, but you can be a rich, unhappy loser. And so bottom line, even though I was doing well on the business side of things, this time was really, really tough for me. But luckily, this is when I discover a YouTuber named Hamza. Hamza is sort of like an anti-self-improvement YouTuber. He talks about self-improvement, but he doesn't go on about all the BS, like the 4 a.m. morning routines and the cold showers while you wrap a towel around your head and chant morning affirmations. He's much more practical, which is why I actually started watching him. So I started watching Hamza. He's like, look, your goal as a man should be to improve all aspects of your life. It's not just about making money, but it's also about taking care of your physical health, your mental health, and having actually good relationships with people. And it made me look at my life and think about what more I needed to be happy than just cash. And basically over this last summer, I've committed to going back to my roots, to kind of get back into why I started my business in the first place, which was to create a lifestyle I actually like and that I'm not tied to. This summer, I focused more on delegating work, prioritizing my physical health, and pushing hard to improve connections I had with people and meet other people who are actually in my industry that I look up to and that I want to meet, which has been honestly one of the coolest things. I've also been spending more time connecting with people in the YouTube space. I got in touch with Nikhil from Captain Sinbad, who's been helping me grow this channel. And I actually reached out to a guy who's very close with Hamza. His name's Jack Hopkins, or CEO of Testosterone on YouTube. And we've connected over the past couple months. Biggest of all, actually, I made the decision to completely uproot my life in Chicago. This was one of the hardest things for me to do, but I realized that surrounding myself with other college students, even as much as I love like the guys at my college, it wasn't good for where I want to go. So I moved in with some roommates who do online business as well. And I've basically been out here on the West Coast for just a month or two at the time I'm recording this. I say all this just to say that money isn't everything. And since I focused more on my overall health instead of just material wealth, I can genuinely say like I'm more happy than I've ever been with where I'm at now. And the funniest thing of all, my income has started to go up again. Since I've moved, we did our first 110K month, and I'm really optimistic about the future. All in all, the reason I'm sharing this video is because number one, I'm not done yet, and I've got more stories I want to tell. And number two, I want my story up until this point to inspire you. Even if we're at different places now, I want you to know like I've actually been there. And if you're facing some challenges in your life, I want you to know that the light at the end of the tunnel is there. So going forward, I want this channel to be a source of inspiration for people, especially young men, if you relate to me, to get onto self-improvement, to take that first step, whether it's with physical health, mental health, or business. But that's me. That was my attempt at reaching out my hand and introducing myself. If you want to see more of me, hit that subscribe button. And if you want to connect with me, definitely go check out my Twitter and Instagram. I've been posting daily there, and they're pretty small, so I respond to pretty much anybody if you message me on those socials. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace, peace.